That feeling it's universal, isn't it?
Yeah.
The desire to, influence events, to have some control over outcomes, feel secure in your position.
Yeah, we all want power.
We all want it. But there's this huge psychological catch, right? The second you're too open about it,
Oh, yeah.
the moment you seem too ambitious, it just completely backfires. You look crude.
That tension is exactly what our sources dig into today. I mean, if you want to gain and preserve influence, you just can't look hungry for it.
Right.
The sources, they treat this whole thing as a high-stakes, constant game. And the prize doesn't go to the strongest person.
No.
It goes to the most subtle, the most clever, and, sometimes the most devious player.
So our mission for this deep dive is to get into the historical and psychological mechanics of all this. We've pulled out these fundamental laws for navigating the game.
Laws rooted in thousands of years of human history.
Exactly. So you, the listener, get the ultimate shortcut to being, strategically informed.
And we really have to start with the core insight from the preface of these sources, which is power requires constant duplicity.
Duplicity, that's a strong word.
It is. The sources argue the whole structure mirrors the scheming world of the old aristocratic court. In that world, brute force violence, that was clumsy.
Okay. So it's not about the size of your army, but the sharpness of your wit.
Precisely. The most skilled player, the perfect courtier, they got what they wanted through finesse, charm, and subtle strategy. This is what the sources call civilized war.
And for anyone listening who's kind of recoiling from this idea,
which is a natural reaction.
Yeah, we have to pause here. The sources are really clear. Refusing to play the game or insisting on being totally transparently honest all the time, that's not a virtue. It's a form of strategic surrender.
Because if you live in a world that works like a giant scheming court, and that could be a corporation, a political party, even some social circles, choosing to be ignorant of these rules is not protection.
No, it's just making yourself the easiest target.
Exactly. You're the first one to go.
Okay, so let's get into the foundations of the game then, because this is where I think a lot of people stumble. They assume they're somehow above it all.
They assume they are free from the snares of power. They see it as something dark or evil, and they avoid the whole topic.
They're confusing their personal morality with strategic vulnerability.
That's a perfect way to put it. They are often the easiest victims because their own judgment about power denies them the tools they need to defend themselves. You can't defend against a move you refuse to believe even exists.
That is a really powerful reframing. So if we accept this reality, what's the skill set we need? It sounds like we have to become master actors or something.
Absolutely. Power is, at its core, a social skill. It takes a lifetime of studying people. But the number one skill is mastering your own emotional response. The sources are very clear that both love and anger they're utterly destructive.
Okay, anger I get. But why love? We talk about loyalty and affection on the team all the time.
Because sentiment blinds you. Love, or deep affection, it blinds you to the self-serving interests of other people. And that means you can't see betrayal coming.
And anger.
Anger is just the worst. It's the most irrational response because it immediately clouds your vision. It pushes you into doing something rash. And critically, it reveals your real plans to your opponents.
So you have to be the ultimate poker face. You have to be detached enough to see the game objectively. You mentioned the Roman god Janus before we started, the one with two faces. How does that fit in?
Janus looks forward and backward at the same time. Strategically, that means you have to look back, to learn from the mistakes of the past, to see the patterns.
The patterns of betrayal, of downfall.
Right. And you have to look forward to constantly plan several moves ahead, calculating every possible thing your opponent might do. You can't do that if you're swept up in the emotion of the moment.
Whether that's rage over being slighted or affection for a colleague.
Exactly. And the key to all this mastery is deception. Our sources, they do not sugarcoat this at all. Deception and masquerade are not ugly or immoral in this context. They are the most potent weapon in this civilized war.
It's the art of indirection.
The developed art of indirection. You have to learn to wear many masks, be totally flexible. If you can't conceal your intentions, you immediately give up your biggest strategic advantage. When you choose to be open and honest in a competitive world, you become predictable. And predictability is, it's a terminal vulnerability.
Okay, that sets the stage perfectly.
Yeah.
So now that we know we need to control our emotions, wear a mask, let's tackle the first big hazard everyone faces, managing the boss. We're starting with Law 1, never outshine the master.
A classic for a reason. The judgment is very simple. Always make those above you, your superiors or patrons, feel comfortably superior.
So the danger isn't just being good at your job, it's the display of your competence that's the problem. Going too far, showing off your talents, seeking praise too aggressively.
That inspires fear and insecurity in the master.
Which is fatal.
Absolutely fatal. Because that fear leads to swift, vicious, preemptive action. So your goal isn't to hide your brilliance, but to make sure that your brilliance reflects glory onto the master. You make them look more brilliant.
And nothing demonstrates this better or more tragically than the story of Nicolas Fouquet. He was Louis XIV's finance minister in the 1660s. This guy was successful, he was rich, and maybe fatally generous.
Oh, he was a true aristocrat, but he completely forgot his place. He decided to throw this just overwhelmingly opulent party for the young King Louis at his magnificent estate.
Vaux le Vicomte.
That's the one. And the historians, they describe it in just awe. A 7-course dinner, fountains flowing with wine, fireworks designed by the best engineers of the day.
He was trying to honor the king, but what was the fatal mistake in Louis's eyes?
Well, the sheer magnificence of it all, the glorious palace, this incredible show of personal wealth, it didn't honor the king. It openly demonstrated that Fouquet was superior.
It embarrassed him.
It made Louis XIV, the Sun King, feel profoundly insecure and jealous in his own minister's home. The master had been outshone.
And the result was terrifyingly fast. What was it, 3 months later?
Just 3 months. Louis had Fouquet arrested, seized all his property, and threw him in prison for life. No trial, no pardon. Voltaire famously said, when the evening began, Fouquet was at the top of the world. By the time it had ended, he was at the bottom.
Wow. That's the price you pay for making the master feel small.
Now, you compare that with the brilliant way Galilei handled this law in the 17th century. He discovered Jupiter's moons, but he desperately needed patronage. He needed the support of the Medici family.
So a huge scientific breakthrough, but he had to play the politics of it.
Exactly. Instead of naming the moons after himself, which he could have, he named them the Medicean stars. He dedicated his incredible work to the powerful Medici family. But he went even further.
What do you do?
He designed an emblem that showed the moons in perfect harmony, and he aligned the number of moons with the number of Medici brothers. He was connecting his celestial discovery to their family's cosmic importance.
So he basically wrote their family's greatness into the fabric of the universe itself.
He made his discovery a testament to their brilliance, not his own. And the result? He got a lifetime appointment and a huge salary as the official court philosopher. He was allowed to be a genius because he made sure his patrons, the Medicis, outshone all others.
So the lesson for you listening is this. If you have to surpass your master, do it while you're playing the role of the loyal friend or, I don't know, the harmless court jester.
Make them look smart by comparison. Dedicate your wins to their mentorship.
Just never, ever let your talent make them feel insecure.
Let's move on to a rule that really challenges our modern ideas about teamwork and trust. Law 2. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies.
This one just feels incredibly cold. It goes against everything we're taught.
It is brutally pragmatic, and according to the sources, that's why it works. The judgment is, be wary of friends. They will betray you faster.
Why?
Because they're easily aroused to envy when you do well, and their expectations for favors and gratitude are way higher than a stranger's.
So, the alternative is to hire your former enemies. That seems risky.
It is, but their loyalty is secured by something much more reliable than sentiment. It's secured by fear and self-interest. A former enemy has more to prove, and they know their success, maybe even their survival, depends entirely on your goodwill. That is a much more reliable calculation.
Okay, we see this play out with Emperor Michael III and Basil I, right? This is 9th century Byzantium. Michael raises Basil, who is literally a stable broom.
From total obscurity. Just showers him with power and titles out of pure affection and trust.
And Michael made that fatal mistake of mixing personal feelings with professional power. He trusted Basil completely, ignored all the warning signs. And what does Basil do?
Well, Basil gets drunk on this power. And first he murders the emperor's most powerful general, a man named Bardas. And then, feeling his own ambition, he murders Michael himself during a feast and just seizes the throne.
Michael's trust completely blinded him. He couldn't see the ingratitude and ambition that he himself had created.
It's a terrible, perfect example of how sentiment just warps your strategic judgment.
But hold on, is it really possible for a leader today to operate without any trust? Doesn't that just lead to paranoia and kill productivity?
That's a really important question. The source isn't saying you should be paranoid about everyone. It's saying you need to understand the mechanics of trust. Friendship breeds entitlement and envy.
Whereas necessity breeds loyalty.
Exactly. Take Emperor Sung in 10th century China. He needed to get rid of a powerful rival, a General Lu Ling.
And instead of calling on his friends,
He did the exact opposite. He promoted former enemies generals he had beaten in battle. His calculation was just. It was precise. These guys knew their lives depended on his grace. They had everything to lose if they failed him.
so they fought harder.
They fought harder, they won the war, and they stayed incredibly loyal because their motivation was self-preservation, not some fuzzy idea of friendship.
That is a much more reliable currency. Sung turned their fear into his guarantee. He secured their service and minimized the risk of betrayal all at once.
Which leads us perfectly into Law 3. This is maybe the most elegant power maneuver because you can control the entire field without anyone even knowing you're doing it. Conceal your intentions.
If Law 2 is about managing people, this one is about managing the narrative.
The judgment is fundamental. Keep people off balance. Never reveal the true purpose behind what you're doing. If they don't know what you're planning, they can't prepare a defense.
You have to create a smokescreen.
A smokescreen of misdirection that leads them down the wrong path. By the time they figure out where you're actually going, it's too late to stop you.
The master of this was Otto von Bismarck. In 1850, there's this big debate about going to war with Austria. But Bismarck's secret, long-term goal was way bigger.
Yeah, he wanted the unification of Germany under Prussian rule.
And he knew he couldn't just come out and say that. So what was his smokescreen?
He argued really aggressively for the superiority of the Prussian military. He made this huge show of being a hawk, knowing he was going to back down later. He talked tough, but then he seemed to yield to the ministers who wanted peace.
So his opponents thought they'd won, right? They thought they'd beaten him. They felt safe.
Precisely. They were convinced they had neutralized him. But in reality, he had distracted everyone from his real goal. The whole military debate was a decoy. By giving in on the small public issue of the war, he hid his massive long-term political goal. And he got everything he wanted later, completely unopposed.
That is that Janus skill in action. Let them focus on their little victory while you're focused on the real prize down the road. Another great example of this is the Gazelle and Weil business deal from the 1910s.
Right. Gazelle wanted to buy an apartment cheaply from Weil. Simple goal. But to distract the seller, Gazelle pulls him into this absurdly complex negotiation about a fictional boxing lodge with hidden financing, multiple partners, layers of debt, just this huge, dramatic story.
So the simple apartment deal was the real objective, and the crazy, dramatic boxing club was the smokescreen.
Yes. Weil got so obsessed with the drama and the potential huge profit from this pugilistic enterprise that he completely forgot about the small apartment deal. The smokescreen was so thick that Gazelle got what he really wanted, the cheap apartment, almost as an afterthought. His opponent's attention was just totally consumed by the illusion.
And for a final, deadly example of subtlety, let's look at Haile Selassie taking down the warlord Belcha in the 1920s. Selassie needed to neutralize him without a big, costly war.
So he invites Belcha to this luxurious, long banquet, treats him with the highest honors, warmth, hospitality. It wasn't just dinner. It was a performance of peace and respect, the thickest smokescreen imaginable.
While Belcha and his 600 bodyguards are celebrating, getting drunk, totally taken in by the warmth.
Selassie is quietly springing this massive, silent trap. He has the guards' weapons taken, he blockades Belcha's main forces outside, and he surrounds the dining hall. Belcha was undone by the hospitality itself. By the time he realized the banquet's true intent, he was helpless. He was disarmed and just, yielded peacefully.
Selassie just completely exploited that human tendency to mistake a nice appearance for a genuine intention.
So we've unpacked 3 crucial, powerful laws of this game. Never threaten the boss's ego, Law 1. Base your trust on necessity, not friendship, Law 2. And always hide your true goals, Law 3.
These laws feel, well, they feel intensely cynical. So let's talk directly to you, the listener. Why would you embrace these ideas if they feel so manipulative?
The sources argue that the goal here isn't about being evil or good. It's about survival. It's about thriving in competitive places where other people are already trying to get an advantage. Deception, when you use it skillfully, it creates space, it buys you time, and it forces your opponents to make mistakes.
All without having to resort to open conflict.
Right. You're maximizing your effectiveness while minimizing your risk. It's self-defense that looks like ambition.
So here's the final provocative thought that the sources leave us with, and it connects all of these laws.
Mastery of power requires you to measure your success not by your intentions, but purely by the effect of your actions on other people. If you choose to be open and honest in a high-stakes game, you risk being too predictable, too vulnerable to those who already know these rules by heart.
So the final question is, are you willing to master the art of indirection, or will you remain prey?